Mhm.
But MVP of the season. So I named those guys that I say in contention. Lamar is kind of my number 2, who's kind of in contention. But the number 1 pick that I have that's I believe is going to win MVP this season is a guy who is playing down in Florida. Mr.
Oh my!
Trevor
Oh, Trevor.
Lawrence. No. I am Tua. Baker's better than Tua, Nick. All right. Tua ain't that dude. All right. Trevor Lawrence. That's a different discussion for another day.
Okay.
Trevor Lawrence, I believe, is bound to have a MVP season this year. The debacle that was the Urban Meyer season is gone and in the past forever now. Dougie P has come in and saved a life.
Mm-hmm.
Dougie P honestly should have never been fired from Philadelphia, but they are on to greener pastures now with Nick Sirianni and the team that they have now.
Yeah,
Yep. So Dougie P changes culture in Jacksonville. You see it already last year. You see the comeback in the playoffs against the Chargers where they're able to beat them, going toe-to-toe in the divisional round. Trevor Lawrence, I expect to have 4,500 plus yards. I expect 30 to 35 plus touchdowns. Similar type of interception, 8 to 11 this year, 60 plus completion percentage. But the major reason why, Nick, I'm saying I believe T-Law is going to make this big jump is one addition to the team.
I already know who you're talking about.
Mr. Calvin Ridley.
Mm-hmm.
Calvin Ridley is that true number 1 that T-Law has not had. He now has that. To go along with the Kirk, who's better served as a 2 or a 3. To go along with, who's the other guy that they got on that team?
The tight end and Evan Ingram.
Evan Ingram, yes, especially. I'm
the running back and Travis Etienne.
I'm blanking on their third receiver because I think it might be Marvin Jones. Zay Jones. That's what it is. Marvin Zay Jones. So you got Christian Kirk. You got Zay Jones. You got Travis Etienne, like Nick said. You got Evan Ingram, like Nick said, who has now officially made himself, who was on contention to be a bust.
Yes.
He's now in contention to be Pro Bowl caliber tight end with T-Law and Dougie P helping him out there. The offensive line is young and getting better. The defense is super young and has a lot of potential. I think that Trevor Lawrence with Calvin Ridley here, not coming off an injury, is bound for an MVP season. So I have Trevor Lawrence winning MVP this year.
I don't not see it. I definitely talked about Trevor Lawrence. I have Trevor Lawrence on my show. I talked about I think I had him as the 7th ranked QB going into next season. So I definitely see high hopes for Trevor Lawrence. Like you said, the firing of Urban Myers was huge. Getting Doug Peterson was huge. Everybody was talking about Trevor Lawrence was going to be a bust as a number 1 overall pick. And then, like you said, you bring in a guy from Philadelphia in Doug Peterson. And then you see the massive jump that Trevor Lawrence does. Like you said, came back in that playoff game, took the Jags to the playoffs, took the Jags to the second round after a terrible first half and 4 interceptions. Coming back and winning that game is huge. So I definitely see what you're saying. And I can't forget the big thing, like you said, adding the X factor in Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley was huge. And like you said, he didn't come in off an injury. He's coming off a suspension. So the kid is coming in. The kid is hungry. And, after last year, the success that they had, they definitely want that more. But I could say the same thing about my MVP pick, and that's Lamar Jackson. When you look at a guy like Lamar Jackson, he has the second best tight end in the world in Mark Andrews and the true number 1. You get a number 2 wide receiver in Odell Beckham Jr. Pray to God he stays healthy. You get J.K. Dobbins back, and I'm really high on this kid. You get a kid out of Boston College in Zay Flowers, who I think could really be a number 2 in this NFL. And you pray to God that Rashad Bateman gets healthy, and they have a good little receiving core in there. And we could see Lamar go for over 1,000 passing yards. Obviously, Lamar will get over 1,000 rushing yards. He'll have the TDs. I could see another MVP in his sight. It's literally in front of him, in my opinion.
So you agree with Justin? You believe that
Absolutely.
Lamar is going 2-time MVP this.
Absolutely.
Listen, I'm not going to disagree. I think even people that would pick Lamar as the MVP is their one precaution would be the injury concerns, right? Is he going to play a full season? Um, I can see it. Listen, I'm high on OBJ. I'm high on Zay Flowers. You got Perryman there.
Mhm.
You got Andrews, who I think is the fourth best tight end, but I guess we're splitting hairs there. I got
Even
Kittle and
fourth?
Waller. I got Kittle and Waller over them. Or Waller over him.
We can have that
We're
discussion
gonna have
another
that
day.
another day. J.K. Dobbins is there. You got the culture with John Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens. The defense is top notch.
Mhm.
And again, I have him number 2. I just think the injury concerns with him. Where as T Law, I don't think the injury concerns are there. This big kid, 6'6", getting bigger, growing into his man body. But
Mhm.
listen, I like the pick for Lamar Jackson. So Nick has Lamar Jackson taking home his second MVP, and I have Trevor Lawrence in his third season in the NFL winning Most Valuable Player. Next up, Coach of the Year. So I'm going to throw this one to you, Nick, first. Who do you have winning Coach of the Year this year?
This might be a little biased. People might say I'm biased for this one, but I gotta go with Robert Saleh. With the additions that we have in Aaron Rodgers, Alan Lazard, the emergence of Garrett Wilson, the not even emergence, he's here already in Sauce Gardner. And with the schedule that we have the hardest schedule in the NFL as the New York Jets. If we can come out with the first year personnel that we have, everybody talking about, oh, the Jets won't be good this year, they'll be good next year or the year after that. We have Aaron Rodgers for a good couple years. If we can come in this year with this tough schedule, come out top of the division, we have a top 10 offense, we have a top 3 defense as always. We can keep, we have guys on the defensive end, like I said, Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, CJ Mosley, Quinnen Williams, who don't get me wrong, he could be in that line for a defensive player of the year next to Michael Parsons. A little sneak preview for later. But if we can keep it, like I said, we can keep a top 10 offense, a top 3 defense, the emergence of Garrett Wilson. I think Robert Saleh could win that coach of the year, especially because last year we had really bad quarterback play and we had a lot of one-score games. We couldn't score the ball. But then now if we get a high-powered offense, we keep that great defense. I think Robert Saleh could win coach of the year.
So you're on the solid train. You're going full ride with there. So do you have here's a quick question. Do you think Rodgers will finish in top 5 for MVP, or do you think
I I think the only reason he would finish top 5 is because of our record.
okay.
I think he'll still be able, like Aaron Rodgers will finish top 5 in yards. He'll finish probably top 5, top 10 in touchdowns. And like, cause like I said, you have an emergence in Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson hungry. You have a good number 2
Yes.
in Alan Lazard. We still questioning the number 3 or and the tight end position, but you have a running back in Brees Hall. You got a number 2 running back in Dalvin Cook. Like they're talking about we can get Mike Evans at the trade deadline.
No. Okay, now you're smoking the grass, buddy, and you need to come back to reality. Come back, snap back
Okay,
to
well,
reality.
I won't
Okay.
even get into Mike Evans yet, but
Okay.
if you look at the things around Aaron Rodgers, like besides having a number 1 wide receiver in Devontae Adams, this might be like some of the best receivers he's played with. Obviously, like I said, besides Devontae Adams, I'm talking about as a core. Period.
I would disagree with that, but I don't know if you're very familiar with his early years in Green Bay. When he was first in Green Bay, I mean, we're talking this guy had Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson,
Oh,
Randall
yeah,
Cobb,
I can't
Donald
forget.
Driver,
I can't
James
forget about Jordy
Jones.
Nelson.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
god.
these guys, he has been blessed with a lot of talent, but I hear you. Because they are talking about Garrett Wilson, and he has got that moniker next to him in special. We'll see. My coach of the year, I have a couple in contention, right? I think Stefanski is going to be in contention because of where I have the Cleveland Browns finishing this year.
Yeah,
I
you
think
have them high.
huh?
You have them high.
I have the Cleveland Browns being the number one team in the AFC. Yeah, tied with the Bengals. Yeah. Mike McCarthy will be in contention, but that's because I have the Cowboys finishing with the best record in the NFL. But the two guys that I'm kind of more high on would be DC, Dan Campbell, coming
Okay.
in finishing in second, or I could easily see him finishing in first because I have the Lions being the number one team in the NFC North this year.
Mm-hmm.
But who I'm going to go with, because I think he's going to, I think because of what he is going to do this year,
Mm-hmm.
how he's going to flip the script for this team, I think he's going to get the nod. I think Sean Payton is going to win Coach of the Year this year. I have the Denver Broncos finishing 12-5 this year. Yep. I have the Denver Broncos because this is why. Because I believe Sean Payton is going to come in and revitalize Russell Wilson back to what he once was. He's already given a snippet of what the offense is going to be. It's going to not be let Russ cook. It's going to be a lot of what he did in Seattle. Bootlegs, play actions, hand the ball off, rollouts. That is what it's going to be for Russell Wilson. Now, it sucks for that team because they've already lost two of their three best receivers. Tim Patrick cannot get on the field, and I feel so sorry for that man. I think this is 3 straight years he has damaged his knee.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Jeudy, hamstring. Even when he comes back, players, athletes will tell you once a hamstring starts to cramp up or whatever, or strain or whatever the case may be, you're going to be dealing with that for the rest of the year. Basically, it's a ticking time bomb. You got Cortland Sutton. Dulage came on strong last year, but I think Sean Payton changed his life. And I will say this though, Nick. My prediction for the Broncos depends on Sean Payton bringing Russell Wilson back from the dead, basically. But I will say this full clarity. If he's unable to do that, and Russ looks like what he looked like last year, the conversation is going to need to be had. Russell Wilson is washed up. That's the conversation that needs to be had. So I will say full disclosure of that, but I'm going to put my faith in Sean Payton. I'm going to put my faith in Russell Wilson that they are going to bounce back and have a big season for the Denver Broncos. They're going to the playoffs. Sean Payton is my coach of the year this year.
I like it. I like it.
You like it. You like it. I know you don't really like it because you're Raiders. You love the Raiders, but
Nah, but when we talk about, listen, you made a valid point.
Yeah.
Like the biggest offseason, talking about the Denver Broncos, like the biggest thing they did in the offseason was bringing in Sean Payton.
that might have been the biggest acquisition.
Exactly. So if you like you said, you bring in a guy like Sean Payton who
besides
can really,
Rodgers, obviously.
yeah, who you bring in a guy like Sean Payton, that football mastermind who can really turn around that Denver Broncos team. So that's huge. If he can, after what they did last year, if he can turn them into even just a playoff team, maybe even second in the division, he could win Coach of the Year.
Yeah, that's really what I see. Because with it's the Chiefs division, and I know when I did my predictions episode, I had the Broncos and Chiefs finishing with the same record, but the way it panned out in the schedule predictor, the Broncos finished with as the number one seed, number one in the AFC West. But I will say that's simply because I had the Chiefs losing a game to the Raiders in Vegas, and I could easily see the Chiefs winning that game. That's pick the pie. Fine, the Chiefs win that game, they go 13-4, and I know you're like but but I'm just saying, with the Broncos, it goes like this, right?
Mm-hmm. So you have the Chargers coming in third.
I have the Chargers going 10-7, but missing the playoffs. And the reason I have the Chargers, the reason I have the Chargers finishing there is because, listen, the offense is there. And I believe Kellen Moore I have Justin Herbert in MVP contention, but I don't have him winning because I don't think the record is they're not going to make the playoffs, and you're not winning MVP, not making the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to have a much better, I think Justin Herbert will have the best season of his career under Kellen Moore. Mm-hmm. Keenan Allen is going to be healthy. Mike Williams is going to be healthy. You got Austin Eckler, who's one of the best receiving backs in the league, if not the best. The offensive line hopefully is going to be, I think Rashawn Slater is going to be healthy this year. he's going to have the best season of his career, because if you look at Dak Prescott and Kellen Moore over those years, they had the number 2 yardage behind only the Chiefs in their duo-ship. So that guy knows how to cook up offense. The only concern with the Chargers is Brandon Staley. I'm sorry to say, but he deserved to lose his job last season. He did. That's an embarrassment. That's an embarrassment what happened. Everybody and their mother is looking at the Chargers and say, God damn it, that team is stacked with talent. Stacked. Especially after last season with the additions of J.C. Jackson. I know he's dealing with injuries. Khalil Mack, those additions. But everybody looked at it and said, the one thing that'll hold them back is their head coach, Brandon Staley. Is he the guy? And that can't be the question. So if they fail again, which I think they're going to come up short again, Brandon Staley has to go. Now, Justin, my co-host, said that he believes Kellen Moore is going to get the job. I don't like that because I don't think Kellen Moore is good for a head coaching job. I think he's just more of an OC. But then again, you bring in a big-time head coach. Is he going to want to get rid of Kellen Moore? Now that's a little – the Chargers are kind of just all – they made a bad decision. They should have fired Brandon Staley and really went after Jim Harbaugh. That's who they should – or Sean Payton. Those are the guys they should have went after. Sean Payton, that offense, goddamn. Whew, that would have been nasty. So now let's move. So I have Sean Payton and you have Mr. Robert Saleh. You're riding the New York Jets train. I love it. It's okay. You guys need to have your.
I'm on the flight, baby. I can't
listen.
I'm on the flight. I can't wait to land in the Super Bowl. That's all I'm doing.